Good evening. This is Street Talk, and I'm Father Russ Carmichael, and I welcome you again onto my show, and I thank you for allowing me to be in your living room or wherever you are watching the TV show tonight. I got a great show tonight. I've been doing good. I'm probably batting 1,000. I've had tremendous shows lately, and my co-host, who's across from me, Dominic, has been so good at getting our people in from all over in the state. And I got a great person, and I'm going to tell you about him in a minute, who's right beside me, but I need to make an announcement first. Okay, I want to say to everybody, my brother and all, I'm wearing the blue today. Yes, I'm wearing the blue in support of the police. I'm also wearing the black for the mourning of all those people who've got hurt and the continuing violence that we have across the country and everything else like that. So I am doing both. And coming from a family with so many first responders, I was reminded this morning about the blue. So I do have it on. Okay, I also have the yellow. Okay, the yellow is for those who are afraid to come out and speak about what's going on in the blue line. Obviously, most people know I retired from, believe it or not, a police station. 9 years I was in Peoria, inside the police department with a wonderful group of people. So I do have the knowledge of both sides of the street. So anybody knows that I know those things that have known me for a lot of years. So I did want to say that, and the other thing I want to talk about, that anybody who is really concerned about these issues needs to read these books, and I mean it. If you're really about the history, what's going on, especially in New England, you want to read How the Irish Became White by Neil Natively. Okay, great book. Got to read it. Every Celt should read this book, I'm telling you. The second book, okay, All Eyes Are Upon Us by Jason Scohill, great, From Boston to Brookline. Again, if you're a New Englander, you know anything, you want to know about, you want to know about what's going on, what the racial issues are, and this is from a white perspective. Okay, it's talking about black people, but it's from a white perspective in the best book that I have read in, I don't know, 10 years, Prudence Crandall's Legacy by Donald Williams, past president of the Senate. Got to be one of the best histories on Connecticut, on all of New England, on the whole issue on slavery. Got to read these books. You read these books, you'll get an idea of why we are in such a problem today with what's going on. So with that, I just want to, as we always do, talk about Father's books that he reads and would like his people to read and follow. With that, I'll try to lead in to the show, and what a nice segue tonight, because I have with me tonight Representative Rep.Bruce Morris. Bless you, okay? Bless you.
Bless you, Father.
Okay, and you've been working in urban issues and all the problems that we're going on in the world for as many years as I have, almost.
Quite some time.
Quite some time, and the head of the Black, Latino,
Black and Puerto Rican caucus.
Black and Puerto Rico caucus, right? And it's so good to have you on.
Pleasure and honor to be here.
It's an honor having you here. I guess, especially when all this crazy stuff is going on, and this year for us, our issue, Dominic and I, are dealing with the juvenile justice stuff that we were talking about. So, maybe Dominic can talk a little bit about
where we are with it. Well, I mean, first of all, I have to thank this guy on camera.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I got to meet Bruce last year. We came together down in his district, one of his constituents. We had this great meeting. We were all a little nervous at first, Bruce walks in there, he's like, I'm on your issue.
It's easy.
It's easy, I love you guys.
On TV, our issue is a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer issue. It's, really, and especially, I appreciated the fact that you had the people there, the guys there, I got a chance to meet them and their families. And it's interesting, it makes you wonder, why would people make things so difficult?
It is, and it does, and this is, another big issue, obviously, that we're dealing with, and Father Russ here just sucks me in from one place to the next.
That's why we go out to volunteer wherever we can, right? Especially when they work so well with the kind of issues. The brain injury issue was such an important issue to us. We both work in the field, and of course, I have family. My son is brain injured, a vet, and he's in Louisiana hospital. Military situation, so it's been a long time. One of the reasons I do it, and then we had another family member, and that's the reason I got into the brain injury stuff and the justice stuff. Of course, I've been in from my own personal experience, and then 50, God, I hate to say that, 50 some odd years with the justice issue. And, trying to work out situations with individuals who have spent a lot of time in prison. So, all of these things are very close to my heart and personal.
Yeah. Now I can understand. It's. I think as I was talking earlier, it's about extension of ministry. Just as you introduced me, Representative Reverend Bruce Morris. Those of us that take what we do in ministry, and we have the practical application for it. And that's why I appreciate the work that you do and the work that Dominic does. When you have advocates that come to Hartford, that come to the Capitol, have the passion that you do, are well abreast of the facts, and you bring the constituency with real life stories that make people, at least certainly me, say, listen, I know it's tough spending money here or there, people don't like their taxes raised, but when you have individuals whose lives have been turned around, young people, families that have been devastated, without any warning, and they're still bright young people.
Exactly.
How can you not help? And particularly those families as taxpayers, when it comes to justice issues, and in particular, juvenile justice issues. I know we, God bless Representative Tony Walker. I mean, she got many of us involved. There you go.
You're right.
But the juvenile justice and raising the age, because we fully comprehend, we understand that there are kids that make bad decisions because they're kids.
Yeah.
They're not bad kids. They just made a bad decision.
Right. Exactly.
Should their lives be totally altered forever, indefinitely? Is you say there's no such thing as redemption? I mean, we all understand the Department of Corrections doesn't do well at correcting.
They don't. No, they don't. But we do. We understand redemption.
Yeah.
Okay. And, I mean, in the issues we've been dealing with for several years now, the Supreme Court ruling in Miller, I mean, says you've got to take a second look.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not talking about, letting people out. People think we're opening the doors and they're running in the streets. We're talking about a second look.
That's all.
And let's see where this young man is, a young woman. Where are they at this point in their life? Has things changed? Are they looking to change and stuff like that? That's it.
And I can say this, I'm sure all the members of the Black and Puerto Rican caucus would chime in, because this is statistically something we looked at when we talked about capital punishment reform. Is the fact that the majority of people who get the stiffer sentences are people of color.
Exactly.
So certainly when we start to look at youth who've been given these life sentences, there's a greater likelihood that we've got some other people who weren't of color that weren't given those similar sentences. So how can you not, now in 2015, we're in a different decade, society's changed, we've evolved, whether it's totally for the good of, I say this for the good of the body, notice how I say we've progressed, it's evolved. Right? How can we not say, listen, let's give these kids a chance to look back and Because as you know, Father, there's many people that have gone to college, who've earned their degrees there. They're doing phenomenal things behind bars.
Exactly.
And they would be a great asset to society if they weren't behind bars.
Exactly right. Yeah, I mean, we tried to demonstrate down there. We brought people that had backgrounds and not hubcap thieves, that had bad backgrounds, that had done a long time in prison and now working for the Department of Correction, trying to change young people's lives and stuff like that. So we know, I mean, we do know that lives can change and you can change, and obviously I've changed, and many of the people I've had around me, they were not hubcap thieves. They were bad individuals, men and women, that eventually got it together. Their brains developed so they knew they were doing the wrong way and going the wrong way, and they changed their lives. And what they found, one of the best things is that when you devote yourself to the service of others, if you get an education, you devote yourself to the service of others, you can really change, and you can really be a positive move in society. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I think it really comes down to, and this is where it kind of transitioned very easily for me, was on the bottom line is the people that I deal with, a lot of them have frontal lobe issues. And the strict scientific reality, and this is what the Supreme Court based a lot of their rulings on, having to do with this population, is that your frontal lobes are not fully connected up to the rest of your brain until you reach probably somewhere the age of anywhere between 22 and 26. And as I like to say, everybody who's had a license and had to go buy insurance, you all of a sudden see this miraculous drop-off in your insurance rates about 25, 26 years old. But I know on a personal level, I have a stepson. He got involved in drugs. He ended up going in through the system because he stole a lot of money from his family, and that was the only way that they could get him off of drugs. And he went in, and I watched his development because my family's tried to help him out along the way. And unfortunately, he just went back in this last week for stupid stuff of violating his probation for not having driving on a suspended driver's license, that he was trying to go to a job and do other things. But, I mean, I've watched his development, and he's getting close to that 25, 26 years old. And I swear, it's like a light switch. All of a sudden goes on, and all these people that that I'm accustomed to dealing with, who a lot of people look at them and say they don't have judgment, they don't know. It seems like they can't do right from wrong, and they're brain injured. And this is a similar thing that people go through when they're teenagers, and this is what this whole bill is really all about. Is it's realizing that neurologically they're not developed, and it's giving them the opportunity that once these connections do get up, and it's not this is after they've been in for a period of time that these things occur, and they're able to get a grasp or understand, and hopefully they find from within themselves to be able to make the change. But that's what this whole taking a second look is, to be able to say it's not just you get an automatic break because you're 17, 18 years old or 15 or 16 years old when you commit a crime. It's to be able to say, okay, and this is what change is all about.
Yeah, as you say that, I think about it and think about the punishments that have been determined specifically for horrific crimes. You say, listen, we need to do something really serious, and you determine to throw a life away. Well, if we really do value lives and understand the science, the brain science that you're talking about, if we really value lives, why wouldn't we want to give that second look to find out, listen, here's a life that, rather than saying I'm going to throw it away for 70, 80 years, you never know what that life expectancy is for that young person.
You have no idea.
If we really value that, we need to go back and take that second look. Find out where that young person, who's now not young a person anymore, but they still have valuable years to their life. Where are they, and where can they, again, provide some value to our society.
We talk about a lot on my show. Obviously, I deal with Ralph Hamm, as an associate of mine, was a partner of mine, worked on political stuff when I was in prison. He was 17 years old. He got in a situation with two other people, the three of them. A rape was involved in a beating. No killing or anything else, like 47 years. 47 years, the two older gentlemen who were wise, okay, he was young, they were drinking, they ran to the district attorney first, so he gets put on as the primary, okay, he's on his 47th year, he just went up for parole, we're hoping that he gets out this year, but, 47 years, nobody, okay, at the same, in the state, Massachusetts, in the same state where we got a guy walking around the North End that killed 18 people and made a deal and did 12 years over the Bulges stuff. It doesn't, to me, that is horrific. How can you let a murderer that could to 18, see, I said 22, but somewhere between 18 and 22, Johnny Martorano, out right now, probably in the North End at a restaurant, okay, did 12 years, and Ralph Hamm is still in prison and no body.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And my understanding is that Ralph has done a lot to educate himself, educated while he's been behind bars.
Graduated summa cum laude, Boston University, helped develop educational programs in the prison, was political in the 70s, okay, we were trying to change things, that's how we got together, and it's probably my fault he's still there, because he did political stuff trying to change, the prisons at the time, okay? And the real thing, he's black.
That's what I was about to say. When you start talking about equity and justice, fully, the only reason why he got that type of sentence back then was because he was black.
That's exactly right.
And shame on us if we allow a black man today to still sit behind bars for something, for racism that was really prevalent then.
Exactly right. That is exactly, and it really bothers me a lot. He's a writer. He's a wonderful author. Yeah. He's an artist. Okay. Years ago, when he was doing his art, he was doing really good with the art, and he was making money. They had an organization in the prison. They took his art stuff away because he was making money on his art. And they were developing self-education programs inside. They took his stuff away. One of the people in the parole board last time he went up said they had read one of his books, and he said, "Well, you sound angry." He said, He said, "I'm not angry." He said, "I just wrote the facts." He said, "If that sounds angry, I can't help it. These are the facts. This is what happened." And I look and I say, what black man or woman growing up in that kind of situation, being thrown away, getting those kind of sentences, could write other than being angry?
Yeah, it's unfortunate we haven't taken a look at the fact that this kind of sentencing, this kind of policy, judicial policy, how has negatively impacted this state and this country long run. Take a look at what do we have, ballpark numbers, 70% or more of those who are incarcerated are black or Latino.
Exactly. Right.
The chances of a child whose parent is in jail, of that same child going to jail,
Exactly.
70% chance.
I know.
All right. So we continue this cycle of trying to arrest our way out of, to reduce crime, rather than focusing on the things that I'm grateful you see. You got the book there about Prudence Crandall. These are the things we need to be doing.
Well, nobody I know the history. Black or white. Okay, to read the history, this is a white woman.
Yeah.
that started, I believe it was the first
Black
black
girls' school.
girls' school in the country, okay, under conditions that were unbelievable. And most of the people involved in the anti-slavery stuff are white guys and women. And our people don't get it, okay? At the same time, I love these both books. This one here, okay, how the Irish became white, it talks about, okay, when the Irish come over here, they were the lowest people on the face of the earth. And some of their jobs were laborers had better jobs, okay? So when they did unions and stuff like that, there was no way to say that they were not the bottom of the barrel, except they made black laws. They made laws against black people, so at least you could be less educated, be an imbecile, but you could say, I'm white. Like I'm white is going to make a difference. My education or the kind of class person I am. Absolutely, I get a little. I get a little off.
No, I understand that. Well, when you take a look at the entire civil rights movement and the role of whites in the civil rights movement, who played a very key role in helping to move it forward, you would hope that even as we're having this discussion today, that the viewers who are watching or listening would say, hold on, you know what, statistically, we know the data's there. We have people of color that have been treated unjustly.
Totally unjustly.
And guess what, I hate paying taxes. Well, guess what, what percentage of my taxes are going to keep people unfairly incarcerated?
Exactly.
How much does that run? I think it's like $45,000 to $50,000.
What does it cost to educate a child?
What?
They pay average $12,000.
12 to, yeah,
So
exactly.
the reality is, we're paying 1/4 the cost, or we're paying 4 times more to incarcerate people, again, talking about the value of life.
That's right.
And whether we believe that everyone has the potential to learn, whether everyone has the potential to be a contributing member of society in a very positive way or not. And we are paying through the nose generation after generation. So that's why juvenile justice policy is important stuff. When we begin to talk about those who've been incarcerated for all these years, you know, we need to do something about it. That's why I'm proud of the fact that we got rid of the death penalty here in the state of Connecticut.
Yes.
Right? Why would you spend over $100,000 a year?
I think more than that.
Oh,
If you
yeah. As I said,
include the legal and everything else,
Huge.
you're probably talking about
Huge.
$400,000 or $500,000.
Huge amount of money.
Taxpayers. So certainly blacks and Latinos on that page say, hey, this is the policy we need to do. But as a state, you know, we get black, white, Latino, all of us, we recognize our interdependence.
Exactly.
That for the success of this state, we need to move beyond color and understand we're all human beings. If we cut ourselves, I don't care if we cut you, we're all going to bleed red. And guess what? If I use a knife, we're all going to feel it.
We're all going to feel it. Exactly right. Yeah.
So we need to get to that point, understanding that that's how we move forward and deal with these policies.
And one of the things that are really interesting, I know in the 70s, we got over. We got over the skin color issue. As prisoners, we were able to get over that. We used to say we were all blue and the guards were khaki. I mean, we got over that. And when you read back, you read back into the 1800s, in the prisons in Philadelphia, they were better together as groups of people, black, brown, and white, were tighter together and not racially brought apart. It took years to separate people, and it was a huge mistake, a big mistake. Our people, you would think that they learned together. We're all workers. We're all in the same boat. We're all interdependent. You would think we would be able to get together and all work together. Yeah, I mean, and that's the real reality of where the world is. We are not a bunch of separate people and stuff like that. We should be able to get together and work together.
Well, we need to.
You know?
Our future survival is based on us really understanding our interdependence.
Yes, and I'll leave it alone. There are some books that tell us how much that we do have to get together if we want to survive as a species, for crying out loud. We need to get together.
I think that's part of what I know for me. I mean, when I look at the younger generation, is that I do see that.
Yeah.
I do see a lot of that change, and that less of a focus on what makes us different. And I think that's gone a long way, you know, I think with some of the civil rights stuff, certainly, you know, in the last decade, you know, talking about gay marriage and other things along those lines, where there's a better level of acceptance. But there's still like this pervasive undercurrent that's there. It's you know, when you're talking about the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, I mean, it was out now. People would, you know, come out and they would say it straight out, and they'd say it straight to your face, and you had a pretty good idea where they were at. And now you look at it, and you're never really sure where somebody really stands.
Well, Father Russ said when you start talking about these books in the beginning, he talks about racism in New England, and when you get to understand the difference.
There's a big difference.
There is.
Because I was known, you know, African Americans who grew up in the South,
Right.
and they said, listen, you knew exactly where you stood.
You knew, not here.
Here it's subliminal.
That's
okay?
right.
It is systemic. It is part
of the system.
Part of the system.
System.
And because of the fact that our kids they're dating, you know, cross races and everything else, the systems are still set in place.
The systems are still the same.
Right.
The difference between, and that's what white people don't understand. When you grew up and you were white and black in the South, you knew where everybody stood. You grew up here, you lived in another neighborhood, you didn't see no black guy or black woman. They were invisible. Okay, they were invisible to most, all the New Englanders and stuff like that, because when people moved out, they naturally moved into little pockets, being close to people that just like the Italians did, just like the Irish did. So when racism was a very different thing here, okay, and they made laws, obviously, to discriminate against black people in business and everything else like that. And our people don't know that. They don't know that. They don't teach that history in any school that I know of. I mean, I was lucky. I grew up in Newton, and because I grew up in Newton, they had what they call I think it was called the Springfield education system, where there was this big movement to try and get all kids to all different races together and teach them so that they would not have any bias. And that was done. That was an experiment tried for years. So you'd get history, or you'd get some flavor of understanding. Like obviously, I was taught about the Underground Railroad and where Jackson Homestead was and stuff like that. But if you grew up in another area, in another school, you didn't get any of that stuff. You didn't. You weren't educated to that stuff. And that's why education, to me, is one of the most important keys. We proved in the prison system that it's one of the most important keys to having somebody understand and change and develop. We know that. We know that for sure. We know that people can change if you spend the money.
That's right, yeah.
You know.
It's interesting because a lot of when you start talking about racism, also it's a lens through which people look at. And you started the show out talking about the reason why you're wearing your blue and your yellow and all your different things. I mean, we know right now one of the major, this is real controversial, the whole Ferguson and Garner issue.
Exactly.
The whole piece. And the reality is, everyone in the country believes you have to have safety, you have to have order. We're grateful for all the police officers that do phenomenal jobs, often under very difficult circumstances. Okay? Very real, and we're always going to want to honor them. Tragic what happened to them. But the other side of it is, who are the people that have got to stop back and ask themselves, why are we yet going into denial and say, I didn't see what I really saw in the video?
Exactly right, scared to death.
And have the same kind of passion.
That's that yellow light. You're right.
And recognize it may not be your experience. I mean, I do this with my role even with Human Relations Director for Norwalk Schools, you know. Dealing with people that they hate it when someone says, yes, I feel that this person discriminated against me. Oh, you called me racist. And they go defensive. It couldn't go defensive rather than, maybe something closer, rather than, hold on, you know what? This is my fellow human being. This is my coworker or someone. This is someone's parent or something. if they have this feeling about me, rather than go to the defensive, why don't I first seek to understand why does this person feel this way?
Why? Exactly right.
Yeah, rather than trying to avoid it.
Exactly.
And that's the problem. And I think that's what's happened to us with Ferguson and all. There's a large group of people who want to ignore and push it back.
Push it out of the way.
We have lives. A young black person is fearful for their lives. Why? Why should that be? And here's the other piece I just want to add to it, because it's in the black community, we need police officers to help us to take care of order.
Exactly.
Okay? And police officers will say, listen, we need the community to police itself, and that's true, and it should. They say, listen, we need you to kind of let us know who the bad people are, and forget the no snitching rule. Well, if that works for us to make it work, why couldn't it work for you? Don't you think you got a few of your comrades in blue? Let's be honest.
Exactly right. Exactly.
It would help the whole picture if you'd be honest about those and hold those accountable for wearing blue and do a shame and dishonor to the great service
and they
you
know
provide.
it too.
And they know it.
And they know it. I mean, I lived 9 years, and I was the head custodian of the city of Peoria. My office was right beside the chief of police. Okay, I lived in. And when you live with the boys in blue, you become part of their group. They don't care whether you're the janitor and everything. I lived in the locker rooms where they knew who the bad guys were, and they protected those bad guys. They were just as bad as mafia guys. Right. You know what I mean? And they know it. That's when I talked about the yellow. You know, my brother's a sheriff. Okay, my brother knows who the bad guys are in his department. They know. I mean, and he's one of those guys who checks on how you get hired and stuff like that. So, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
There should be no reason. I walk out of my house. I don't fear anything. I walk through Boston rocks. I don't care. Here, you, God bless you, are a representative, Reverend. You got to be nervous when you drive into a white community.
I do. I've been profiled.
Yeah,
What has happened?
Yeah, exactly.
I was in
Outrageous.
church one night. Both of my sons, I got a suit on, dressed pretty much like I was now. It was snowing. Both my sons in the back, but they had hoodies on. Police officer found some convenient reason to stop us.
Yeah. I mean, it shouldn't be.
It's part of that systematic, and I know you talk about.
It's systemic. It is.
Eric, it was an Eric Garner. I don't know why it is. I had that name stuck in my head somewhere, but what was he really being arrested for? Because he was selling loose cigarettes.
Lucy's. Suspected. Well, suspected.
You don't see that part on the videotape.
Right.
So why are we going after somebody along these lines? And I know they come back and they say, well, you know, there were complaints within the neighborhood. I mean, let's focus on like what's real. You know?
Well, remember, they talk about it's all about this broken window theory, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you're going after him for Lucy's because of broken windows, and so you're going after the people you're called to serve and protect.
Right.
Well, then how about the broken windows within the police department?
Exactly.
If that's your philosophy, it needs to be universally applied.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Otherwise, it becomes hypocritical,
Right.
and that's when you end up with all these demonstrations and things, because you lose confidence of the people, and the people want to have confidence all the time in the police officers.
The shame is when you turn your back on the mayor. I don't care if you're a police officer. You turn your back on the mayor. You just supported all those individuals that do this stuff and disgrace your department. That's what you're doing. Okay, in other words, you're not standing up. Okay, you need to, if you want, and that's basically if you want people to stand up, you want people in the community to help you, then you need to stand up. You, as an officer, you need to stand. I know. Maybe the other people don't know. I work with them. You know who the bad guys are. Okay, and you know how they treat people, and you need to stand. Whether you're a police officer in a department, or you're in the Department of Correction, or whatever system that you are in that does enforcement, you have a responsibility to everyone.
I think it brings about a bigger point, which is, you know what? There is no quiet way to make a stand in life.
Well,
And that's what the problem is. And that's, you know, and if we all really stood up and said that we don't accept this from some of the people that are around us, you would find that group were, you know, closed off into a small area. But because people don't speak out, then they're allowed to sit there and believe that they're part of something larger when they're not.
exactly.
And that's, you know, the reality of it gets impacted. And people, you know, they quietly think this, and because people don't speak out against them, this is how it gets
fair.
pervaded.
It's a fear factor.
Yeah, well, because they feel that they're marginalized, you know, and that their voice has no value.
Yeah.
Which is interesting when we take a look at what's happening in France today and the tragedy that's there.
Tragedy, right.
And just recently with the Sony debacle, you know, also free speech is becoming something that's really important and questionable here. It's questionable yet important. So for all the voices that have been marginalized that are listening here today, understand that every voice does count. And you're saying the right thing. How often will we move beyond our realm of our spheres of comfort and decide that, you know, this is what is valuable for me, and my life has no real value unless I'm willing to stand up for something that's really important.
It's important.
Even if people marginalize me, because unfortunately, the words that are most important and the positions that are most important are usually those that are marginalized because of systems.
Yeah, it is, that's so real. Okay, and I think people, it's hard for people to make a choice to stand up, okay? It really is. You and I are both blessed, obviously, okay, where you are, and you stood up, and you, where I am today. I mean, there were long periods of time where I struggled against a lot of people, okay? But obviously, I don't know why, yours is the same, is the faith within that allows you to do that. If you don't have that,
If I didn't have that, I don't think I'd be making a lot of the decisions that I do and making the stands that I do.
Yeah.
I mean, quite frankly, you get to a point, someone talk about public service, but for me, this is real service. It's my own purpose in life, quite frankly, is to serve. I mean, I'm grateful that I've been chosen to be leader in a lot of venues. But quite frankly, I take the scripture, he that is chief among you should be your servant.
should be a servant,
Right?
exactly right.
So if I can't help someone to fulfill their potential, fulfill their goals in life, what value is my life? But then by doing that, they'll automatically let you lead.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of work to do, and just as you, Father Russ, I've come up the rocky side of the road. I went to private schools and things, but I didn't do all the right things. There are things that I did in life that I should have been arrested for and didn't get arrested for.
Yeah. Yeah, you were lucky like my brother. But we do. We all make mistakes.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. You and I both know that. No matter who you are, you've made the mistakes along the line.
I was a young kid. I did stupid things.
And you do stuff. But again, somehow people have to find that.
Yeah,
You don't let that mistake define you.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
not
exactly
your entire life.
No, it is not.
No.
No.
You know, and you're talking about, you went away for quite a few years and were involved in some very, big things.
Heavy stuff.
But that's not defining your life.
No, of course not. No.
No, it actually turned your life around.
It actually gave me a career in helping other people. I mean, on the fact, I used to say, why God? Why did I? But to be able to use what I went through to assist others. I mean, I do the show to show other convicts and ex-convicts that, look, you You could contribute too. Don't let people say, you may never get back into society like you think you want to be, but you can be positive, and you can be a positive source if you rely on your inner self, inner being. Obviously, mine's God that I rely on, and that's my crutch, and I need it.
I'm looking at it this way.
Jesus is my strength.
You learned all the quarrels, but organized crime is so effective in helping other people, because I know you do this all the time.
But inmates need to hear that message.
Exactly.
They really do. I do prison ministry as well. And
Yeah.
I quickly think of one of the guys in my church right now. He's a deacon. God bless his heart. He gives his heart to everybody. This is a fellow, I believe he was looking at 90 years in jail. He ended up doing 9, so miracles do happen.
Yeah, of course they do,
But
yes.
during his 9 years, he was so busy serving everyone else around him.
Yeah.
He was really committed to his faith. And in fact, this is a fellow who he was president of the Latin Kings in the prisons,
Yeah.
Enforcer when he was So you let your imagination go.
I know.
But I'll tell you what, humbled, really serves. And I tell people, because I actually wrote a letter to help this guy get a pardon. I says, he's the poster boy. I said, you have better faith and confidence in him than you can in me. That's how much trust I have in this guy.
You got
His life
trust
was
in
that
him.
much turned around.
Yeah.
Okay? This is a fellow now, he's out, he's got his own home, his wife, child, great job, but he's not just doing that, he's giving back
He gives
again into
back.
prison ministry.
Exactly, yeah.
He's hoping he can get back to work in a prison. But he actually goes and does prison ministry.
Oh, yeah.
So he's giving back in so many phenomenal ways. He's encouraged so many other people who have been in prison and those who have not. He mentors them, stands beside them.
Yeah.
So that's why this is all important.
It's seriously important stuff. And again, we know that things work. We know faith is part of it. We know education is part of it. And guys like that is no different than me. Turn yourself around is important to those who I talk about, the ones we left behind.
Oh, yeah. When it's real, and people know, and when someone goes to pardons or whatever, they know. They can tell whether you just
It's your game in the system and everything else. That's why, when we look at the juvenile justice situation that we're trying to work on so heavy this year, we're just talking about a second look. We're not talking about opening the doors. We're not talking about, we're taking a look, where are you, and then finding where are you, then what maybe you have to do. That's all we're doing.
It also speaks to that the systematic stuff that we were talking about earlier. The bottom line is somebody who's like 15, 16, 17 years old, they're coming into a court for like the first time. And they're sitting there and they're just like in kind of like awe and like fear.
Yeah.
And, somebody's going to say, okay, you're going to be put away for like the next, 20, 30 years if you take this bargain. And they're going, 20, 30 years? I'm not even been alive 20, 30 years. I can't even imagine that. So I'm going to go to trial.
You bring excellent point, Dominic.
And I'm going to trial, and then all of a sudden, and I lose.
They trust that they're going to get justice.
Yeah, right.
And that is
right.
not what
And
happened.
that's what happened. No, that's exactly right. The fear and stuff like that. Now you're doing life.
Yeah. So it's really a matter of justice that
It
you
is.
give these kids. That's why the Supreme Court did that.
Yeah,
Because the Supreme Court, they're fully aware of the history of justice in the United States of America.
of course.
Regardless of what state it is.
Yeah.
So, it was just a moral and right thing for them to do, to kind of tell the states, no, you need to go back
You
and
need
fix
to
this.
go fix these things. Exactly right. But that is the scariest thing in the world for people, and that's exactly what they do.
Yeah.
They're looking at this. No, I'm going.
and-
16, hold on, I'll give you a better one. 15, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old kid. Well, come on, you don't know the kid, but what's the household look like? What's the support system in that household?
Oh, exactly. Right.
What are the conditions that brought that child to where he or she is right now?
How is somebody supposed to escape that? This is your house where you live. How are you supposed to, if you're in this situation that this is what you've grown up with, and it might not be the best of circumstances, and there's a lot of problems. how are you expected to be able to escape that when everybody's telling you have to listen to your parents, and your parents aren't doing a good job, helping to develop you because maybe they've been in that same situation and they've never had the education.
And add to that, because of the prevalence of racism, there isn't anyone speaking anything positive in your life, affirming your brilliance.
Nobody.
You're a black Latino kid, they're telling you you're dumb, you can't make it, you're stereotyped.
Exactly right.
Right?
I deal with this every single day. You're trying to deal with people to get them out of the situation, and they want to get out of the situation, but guess what? They're surrounded in their community, in their home, their cousins, their everything else, all negative and everything else, and you can't pull that person out. And it is so difficult. I mean, we go through it daily, and you see it, and somebody says, "Oh well, so and so you were working with, guess what? He just did a robbery with the other guys." Well, no kidding. Oh, who's he with? His cousin and the good guy next door? Yeah, what else? I mean, like, who didn't know that that's what was going to happen? God bless us, I can't believe. I want you, okay? I just saw my flash tell me I got 5 minutes. I can't believe it.
And you just got me really wound up here.
Okay, because this does go all over the place. What are your plans for this year? How can you do that in about 4 minutes? What you like?
Certainly hope that this issue comes back up. I mean, we got it through the Judiciary Committee, we got it through the House last time, and hopefully we can get it done this year.
Yeah.
We're going to keep on working on justice issues. We're going to continue to work on education issues regardless. I mean, the Black and Puerto Rican caucus, another week and a half, we'll put out our legislative agenda. But there's certain things that are going to be on our agenda, on our focus every year. We recognize for our kids and for all kids from the entire state, education will always be paramount. Preschool through higher ed, okay? One of Connecticut's greatest assets is intellectual capital.
Yep.
All right? But while we're doing that, and that's why we've got it, most of us, you'll find us on Education Committee or you'll find us on Judiciary, because we recognize so many of us are getting lost there. You got to piggyback those two together. So everything within the realm of justice we will continue to do. There's more, but we don't have more time. Maybe you'll invite me back another day and we'll talk about it.
I think the reality is exactly what you said before. Why are we spending $45,000 and $50,000 when we could be spending, the $12,500 to make sure that, somebody's life doesn't just get flushed down the toilet, and then we as a society are all continuing to pay for it.
It isn't doing anything to really make the public safe.
No, it isn't.
Okay, and someone's probably maybe looking at this saying, there's a bunch of bleeding heart liberals, it's these kids' fault, it's their family's fault. Walk a mile, walk a half a mile in the shoes of these families,
and see
and you wouldn't think
happens.
so.
No. I need to make sure that I get you back on here again, because we just...
Honored to do so.
We just cracked a little part of the iceberg,
Yeah.
Oh, my
keep doing great work you're doing.
you keep on keeping on.
Both of you, really.
I got to say, my favorite comment about Bruce, you know what? He brings everybody else up around him. Every time I meet with this guy, I just walk off like with a big high because he brings everybody else up around him. And that's one of the things that I love about you.
Thank you so much. I love you. I love you.
I do want to finish by saying, we love you, Andy Maynard.
Yes.
You made my day.
Standing ovation.
You made me. I love you, Andy, and I hope to see you real soon. I want to say hello to Deborah Costello, okay, and let her know she takes pictures of me.
That's my mother-in-law. She made us.
God bless you. See me next week. Guess what? Mike Passero, okay, I'm hoping is going to be mayor for New London, obviously. Mike is going to be on with me next week, so please, he'll be here with me and Dom Cotton, okay? See you next week, and we can run the street. God bless you. Thank you, Mary.